So I'm here to show us how I want to use this spreadsheet of mine to actually know which of the customers for Cemip Complete Cleaners are owing. Owing probably because they have collected their clothes, which have been laundered before they pay, or their clothes are still in the shop awaiting payment. So this spreadsheet that I've prepared for the job that I recently got employed for will help me to know which customers and the amount that they are owing. I intend to use this spreadsheet to give a call to these customers 2 days before the end of the month to remind them about their payments. So that way we are being effective as well as efficient in managing and monitoring our sales activities. As you can see from the spreadsheet, the company name is Cemip Complete Cleaners Sales Activity Sheets for July. So you see on the 1st of July, 3rd July. So all these dates represent the days that the company made sales. I have on the top here what I call the key sales activity indicators. These indicators actually tells us as a company what we have done in areas of the quantity of clothes we have washed, the total sales. The total sales represents the expected amount of money for the month. The total owed column represents the amount of money that is being owed by our customers. Then the total income in the bank represents the amounts that have been paid into the bank by customers who have patronized us. Now the I number is a special 3-digit number that we'll use in calculating some of these activities for sales in Cemip Complete Cleaners. So for the 1st of July, on the heading we have the date, the customer name, the cloth type, the quantity, that's the number of pieces, total pieces, because some customers can bring more than 1 or 2 pieces of cloth. Then the service, what type of service are they requesting for? The amount per piece, the value, the price difference, then the new price, and the invoice number. This is to help us to be sure that what we are getting here has been recorded. And then the total amount of money that the customer is expected to pay. And then we have the payment status. Has this customer paid in full or part? What is the balance if he or she has paid in part? We also have this information over here. Then we'll have these aspects of the spreadsheet, which is the referrer. So we also want to know who actually referred this customer to the company. Now we see the names coincide with the first letter of the invoice number. So this is how I am able to know which of the customers were referred by a certain employee or staff of Cemip Complete Cleaners. So like I said, we have Mr. Manuel on the 1st of July. He brings in shirts. There are 12 pieces in number, so the total quantity is 12. Then what service did he apply for? Ironing only. So what is the price? So for each shirt that we are doing ironing only will cost 150, and the value is 1,800 naira. Naira is a currency in Nigeria for payments. So as I said, this is what we're expecting this customer to pay. But with our new pricing policy that is changing, we want to know what his new price will be. So how do we calculate this? We start with equal to, because it's a formula that we're going to use. We get the value on the quantity pieces, which is column E10, multiply it by the special 3-digit number, which is L5, and then we anchor it by pressing by pressing F4. This particular formula, this particular formula will need to be in brackets, and then we will not divide it by the real value that the customer is supposed to pay, which is column I, row 10, and then enter. And it tells us that this customer will have a price difference of 3 naira from the original 1,800. So what will be Mr. Manuel's new price, which will be equal to the function, and we will do the value on I10, subtract it from the value on J10. And that tells us that Mr. Manuel is to pay 1,797 naira. So what is the total? So the total will make reference to what is on cell K10. Enter. And here we go. So we'll see that Mr. Manuel is to pay 1,797 naira, so which is his total. And then we'll now call Mr. Manuel. Let's say Mr. Manuel did not make a payment when he brought in his clothes. So we want to know what will be his balance. His balance will be equal to what we have on N10, subtract it from what we have on M10, and we have this. So Mr. Manuel is owing the company 1,797 naira. Now we can do this new price difference for every other customer and the number of pieces of cloth there is in. And then we can also do this price difference for all of these customers to know what their total amount will be. Now we'll notice that for Mr. Nelson, customer, he has all these number of plots and the amounts, and these are the price differences for each. But then we want to know what will be his total amount. Now, as you can see here, the total amount here sums up what we have on cell K11 down to cell K15, which is there, and it gives us this. So if Mr. Nelson did not pay company, we still have his plots, so he has 0, and then we can draw down this formula here, and so Mr. Nelson is owing the company 2,989 naira. We can come to Mr. Owele. Mr. Owele has all this. We want to know the total amount of what he will pay, which is summing up what we have on I16 to I21 to give us this. And Mr. Owele is also owing. So this will not be equal to what we have on N16 minus M16. So Mr. Owele is owing us 5,400. And then we'll come over to Mr. Kayode. Mr. Kayode has all this. And then when we multiply, when we do our summation of the total amount of all his clothes, we have these figures here. So let's say he's also owing. What are we going to have here? We can simply copy this formula and paste it down here. And so Mr. Kayode is owing minus 14,700. And we can do that all the way down. So far I've gathered data for the month up until 21st of July, 2020. So let's see what happens with this. So we have Mr. Emmanuel owing this, and then these other customers, Mr. Benga. Mr. Benga has paid. We can simply copy this formula and paste. So Mr. Benga is not owing. We have Mr. Chris. Mr. Chris, let's say Mr. Chris has paid in 2,000 naira. So what are we going to have? So we have that Mr. Chris will be owing the company 1,000 naira. We have Mr. Daniel. So if we post function here for Mr. Daniel, what are we going to have? Mr. Daniel is not owing anything because he has paid 1,007. And then we have Mr. Afar, who has also paid. And so if we paste the formula here, we'll still have the same thing. And then we can do that for Mr. Murayo. Mr. Murayo will be owing 3,000. All these other customers, 6,000. These other customers, 6,000. This customer, 2,000. This customer is not owing. This customer is owing 1,006. This customer is owing 1,007. This customer is owing 14,400. This customer is not owing. This customer is not owing. This customer is not owing. This customer is owing. It's 4,001. And then we can go here. This customer is not owing, as we can see. How about this customer? This customer is owing 800. How about this customer? This customer is owing 300. How about this customer? How about this customer? How about this customer? How about this customer? And this, and this, this. So now, yes, of course, our function tells us with the negative sign on the balance column, how much the customer is owing. However, you can use conditional formatting to actually identify which customer is knowing what. Now, the conditional formatting will help to highlight in a certain font style or font color the customers and the amount that they are owing. So, to use the conditional formatting, you can just simply highlight the column we want to highlight all the way down. Okay, and then we'll go to, on the Home tab, the conditional button, and click on the highlight cell rules. We have different options. So here we use the less than highlighting cell rule. Now the less than format for here will be 0. And then what color do we want to apply? I usually like red. So the red font style is what I would prefer because it comes up sharp. You can easily identify it. And I'll make the font to be black. I'll say okay. Or rather, I'll change the font to be white. Rather, I can see there is black, so I make it white. Yes, I make it white. This is already displaying here, and then you click OK. So on this column, we have all the debts in red background with a white font. But then how do I link it to the customer? To actually know, okay, this is the customer, okay, this customer is red, and this is the amount this customer is owing. We'll also use conditional formatting to do this. So we'll simply go to the column where we have the customer name and still highlight down. We're going down. And still using conditional formatting, we'll apply what we call a new rule. Now, on the new rule, we have different types of rule formats to use. But at this point, because we want to highlight this cell, this customer name cell, in reference to the column where the debt is being owed, so we'll use a formula to determine which cells to format. Now, at this point, Excel recognizes that you are doing an if function for using this formatting, conditional formatting. So all you just need to do, format value is where this formula is true, will be equal to, this column is O. So we'll go to O, and we'll start with the starting point of the O column should be O10. O10 now is less than 0. So what format do we want to use to identify that? I still go for red, and then the font color will be white, same as the depth column. Click OK, and you click OK. And what do we see? All the customers that are owing are now highlighted in red with the amount that they are owing. Now, what happens? So let's say Mr. Kayode now finally pays his debt of 14,700. What happens? So I'll just come to this column and impute 14,700. His name is off. His name is no longer highlighted red. The amount is owing is no longer highlighted red. So at every point in time during the business sales, a customer pays the debt that he is owing. We are able to monitor with these spreadsheets what has happened. Now, the next aspect is to go to the key sales activity indicators. Now, why I have this here is so that when presenting this information to my manager is only interested in knowing how much has come in, how much is outside to be paid. So he may not really pay keen attention to who is the customer and the amount they are owing. So now to help my boss to know all these things, I put these key indicators here for him to see. However, if he now needs more details about these parameters that will be here, you can now see these informations down here. So now I want to find out the quantity of clothes that we have washed so far in the month of July. So we still apply a function or a formula which will be equal to, at this time, you will sum. So what are we summing? Everything on the total pieces washed, which is everything here all the way down here, and you click enter. And what do we have? It says we have washed 159 pieces of clothes. We also come to total sales. The expected income for the company, which will be also do equal to, and where are we getting this sum? Also the sum function. And then we'll get everything from this column all the way down, and click enter. And what does it say? That we are supposed to make, or we have made in our sales activities, a total of 108,435,000. So we now come the owed. What is the amount that is being owed by our customers? Still use the sum function. And then come to this column that we have the owed and scroll all the way down, enter. And what does that provide us? That we have about 72,185 naira outside. So now, how do we get total income? Because some customers have paid either through bank transfer or cash payment. So now, in order to get this total income, we will just do equal to the total sales, the expected income, minus, now in brackets, negative this amount here, and click enter. Now we need to anchor this so that it doesn't change, and then anchored. So we have a total debt of 36,250 naira being owed by our customers. Now I want to apply a conditional formatting. Let's say we expected to make 300,000 every month. So now how do we know if we are meeting our goals or targets of 300,000 every month? So I can come to this particular cell for the total sales income, come to conditional formatting, and then I can do highlight cell rules, and it will be between. Oh, let's say I will use okay, so I'll use format all cells based on their values. Let me say I want to use a 3-color scale. Now I'll change the type from lowest value to number. The same thing for the midpoint number, the maximum number. So that will be the type. So now what will be the value? Now, for my team, let's say our value will be 150, sorry, rather 100,000. And what will be the mid value? The mid value, let's say, should be 250,000. And then our maximum is 300,000. Now we have a color scale. Red shows we are still below our target. So any figure that falls in within the 100,000 is still below our target. If we are now making up to 250,000, color changes over here. If we are now making up to our target, the color now changes to a green. I like green because it shows you are alive. So I use a darker green. And then red means there is still more work to be done. I'll use a darker red. Then we complete. So this is what we have here. So this still shows that we are still below our sales targets. So now, let's say this figure changes to 150,000. Still, the color range is changing. And let's say we now make it to be 250,000. Changes to the yellow color. Now imagine we now meet our sales targets. Meet our sales targets is green. So with these color changes at every point in time that we're meeting our sales targets, the conditional formatting applies a certain color scheme to help us to know that yes, we're meeting our sales targets. So we'll still go back to our formula because this is a tool that I'm using in working. So that will be sum whatever we have on this column here all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. And so we have it here. So it's now red. We've not met our target. For the total owed, I can also apply another conditional formatting to display. So I usually use highlight rules. And I'll use less than as always, and then less than 0, and then the color scheme, go to custom formats. On the fill button, click on red, and on the font, I like it to be white for consistency's sake. Click OK and click OK. So this red doesn't affect this because this has changes that will be occurring on it. And then For the total income, I'll use a different color scheme. Let me say highlight cell rules, and text that contains, okay, for that, we'll leave that. I can use this, if I use manage cell rules on this sheet, or rather, let me use this, and maybe let's say, okay, let's just leave it at this, and then we'll click save. So for here, we are now seeing how much sales that we are making. Now this color scheme will be based on meeting the sales target for the month. So as we hit our sales target of 300,000 for the month of July, this red color changes to a color scheme based on the conditional formatting, where we still have our debt owed to be in the same color format as the debt. So for me, once I see this, okay, this person that is owing this amount, and then our money in the bank so far is this. So we have a lot of debts hanging outside that we need to collect. Thanks to the I number, the special 3 digits that have helped in calculating most of this as we go down. So this is one way that I have been able to monitor and track the sales activities with Cemip Complete Cleaners. Now I know who is owing what and whether it is meeting up to the expectations of the company owners. Now, a little thing that I want to add over here. Now, you see when you scroll up, some of those indicators move away. So now, how do I ensure that probably as I scroll up, these key indicators and these column descriptions still remain? Now, what I want to do, I want to have the sales from the key sales indicators down to this portion remain, and also informations on the customer name remain, that as I scroll up or down or sideways is still in the same place. I don't have to be scrolling back and forth to get the information. So there is a tool that we can use on Excel, and that is the freeze tool, which you can find when we go to the view button. When we go to the view button, you see freeze panes. I've actually clicked on a cell that is empty, that is on cell D9. And then if I go to the freeze pane, I click on freeze panes, those panes have been freezed. So this is what happens. Now we can see, we can go this way, up or down. Our figure still remains. So we can know, okay, Mr. Emmanuel did this. We can go up, okay, Mr. Wele did this. So that way, our figures are still intact. We can actually view everything on this pane. So this is the tool that I've been able to come up with to help me track sales activities in the month for Cemip Complete Cleaners. Thank you for watching. Success Levi signing out.